good afternoon for those in the Arab states and North Africa. My name is Serena Heckler. I am a specialist in ecological and earth sciences for UNESCO in Latin America and the Caribbean. Buenos días a todos y todas y buenas tardes. Soy Serena Heckler, especialista para las ciencias ecológicas y de la tierra de la UNESCO en América Latina y el Caribe. Hay interpretación simultánea en 4 idiomas, en inglés, francés, español y árabe. Hay un globo al fondo de su pantalla. There is simultaneous interpretation in English, French, Arabic, and Spanish at the bottom of your screen. You just click on the globe. And I don't know if somebody else can translate the French and Arabic for me. Maybe Elsa can. Of that announcement.
Maybe I start in French? Okay.
Yeah. Elsa? Just to say there's interpretation.
You want me to... Sorry?
Just to say that there's simultaneous interpretation.
Okay.
And you can click on the bottom of the screen.
اوكي مساء الخير للجميع من المنطقة العربية أكيد ومن غير دول. بنرحب فيكم اليوم بالاجتماع، وبس بدي أقول لكم إنه في ترجمة فورية من اللغات اللي موجودة، الإنجليزي، الفرنساوي والإسباني للعربي. بس بدكم تكبسوا على الهايلايت حسب في عندكم مثل قرى أرضية فيها الانتربريتيشن، هيدي فيكم تفوتوا عليها وتنقوا اللغة اللي أنتم بحاجة لها. Okay, shukran. It's done.
Thank you.
Bonjour. Et pour tous les participants francophones, sachez qu'en bas de votre écran, vous avez un petit symbole interprétation. Toute la séance est traduite simultanément en français. Donc, il y a moyen de le suivre en français. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. As you can see, we have a multilingual panel as well. I'm just going to say 1 or 2 words before handing over to our very esteemed panelists. This is the closing of a project that we've been working on together between Latin America and the Caribbean and the Arab states, and it's been a great pleasure to collaborate with colleagues across the world in 3 continents. We had planned to celebrate the official closing of the project last month in Marrakesh, Morocco during the World Geoparques Conference. And unfortunately, the event was scheduled for 9th of September, just a few hours after a 6.8 magnitude earthquake struck Marrakesh and the surrounding region. And so for those of us who were in Marrakesh, it's a great pleasure to be able to pick up a sign of our resilience in the face of natural risk, to be able to pick up and carry on and come together again and present the outcomes of these projects. So I'm not going to talk very much more. It's a great pleasure to be able to moderate this project and to hand over for the introduction to the event to Mr. Ernesto Fernandez Polcuch, who's the director of the Regional Office for UNESCO in Montevideo. Ernesto is also the UNESCO representative in Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. He's a science diplomat and a specialist in science policy, technology, and innovation. He has a master's degree in science, technology, and society for the National University of Quilmes in Argentina. And before this, he's been in a number of different places in UNESCO. He was the chief of section for the section of science policy and partnerships in the natural sciences sector of UNESCO in Paris. And before that, he was in the director of the regional UNESCO office for sciences in Montevideo. He was in the multi-country office, cluster office for UNESCO in Windhoek, Namibia. And also he directed the statistics team on science and technology in UNESCO Statistics Institute in Montreal. So I very much am pleased to hand over to my boss and director, Ernesto. Ernesto, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Serena. Whenever you start telling them my story, I feel so old, but okay. Thank you anyhow. It's been 21 years at UNESCO, yes. No, first of all, I wanted to thank everyone here, especially our colleagues from Spain, from IC, Santiago Sierra, chief of the coordination department. I can't see really, I'm on the phone, so I can't see really who is present. Juana Vegas, I see her here, our expert from the Instituto Geológico y Minero de España. Eugenio Bidondo, my friend and coordinator of the UNESCO Geopark in Gruta del Palacio and of the Geolac network. Dries Achbal, coordinator of the Moon World UNESCO Geopark and of the African network of geoparks. Of course, my friend Christoph here, Van den Berge, from UNESCO headquarters, and everyone present here. Thank you very much for joining. It's great to have this opportunity to do the closure of this project. First, I would like to just send all our thoughts to the victims of the Moroccan earthquake, which made us to postpone this meeting, but particularly created so many victims in the country, and again warning us about the need to be aware of the risk reductions everywhere, and our work on DRR, and making it again more and more urgent to be thinking about geology in a sense, not only through our geoparks and our geo sciences, but really on the DRR side. So if I may, I think that one of the special points I want to also thank, of course, Elsa Satut from our office in Cairo, our partner from Montevideo and Cairo. We have been working together on this project, and really I think that the most significant message I want to bring is about South-South cooperation. Yeah, this is an example of those types of partnerships that we have to build throughout the global South, where we can really share our experiences, our good practices, our examples, everything we have going on in terms of geopark development. I think it's very sometimes it's unusual when people think, why are you doing a project between Latin America and the Caribbean and the Arab states? But I think it's on the contrary, it should become a way of working for us more and more, working on South-South cooperation, more and more sharing this all our practices, all our experience, having the opportunity to meet our colleagues from geoparks around the world, and really building on our capacities in the South. I know the capacities in Latin America and the Caribbean, and I can say that we both have very interesting things to share, and we also have lots of things to learn. So this, for a situation like ours, these types of projects are fundamental. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Asit, of course, for supporting this. Thank you to the networks involved, the offices, everyone, and really, yeah, it's a great pleasure to have to be able to participate in this meeting today. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Ernesto. Thank you very much. Now I want to hand over to Christoph Vandenberg, who is the Chief of Section for Earth Sciences and Geohazard Risk Reduction and Secretary of the International Geoscience and Geoparks Program. He's also had a number of different positions at UNESCO, and I've worked closely with him in a number of different positions. He joined UNESCO in 2011, but started his career in Research and Development Department for the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries of Flanders in Belgium. I'm very happy Christophe has been an important part and supporter of this project throughout, so I'm very happy to give the floor to you, Christophe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon for those who are joining us from the Arab states or from Europe. Thank you very much, Serena, and happy to be sharing this session as well here with Ernesto. It's been a while that we haven't seen each other. Thank you all colleagues, Juana, Eugenio, Dries, very, very happy to be with you here. It's been quite an adventure already, the UNESCO Global Geoparks. Maybe for those who are a little bit less familiar with it, it started back in the 90s actually, because people had the feeling that they didn't find really a UNESCO designation that could protect the geological heritage. There wasn't really a possibility to find a way to safeguard it under the World Heritage Convention. So there was this drive already back in the 90s. It started with 4 geoparks in Europe. And then it quickly got picked up by China that has in the meanwhile 41 UNESCO Global Geoparks. And for a long time, the development of geoparks stayed centered around those 2 regions, right? You saw it growing in Europe and you saw it growing in Asia. And I can say that we're soon going to be 211. Officially, we're only 195, but soon we're going to be 211 UNESCO Global Geoparks in 48 countries. So we're really growing very fast. It's a very successful, despite its young age, it's a very successful evolution, be it not equally distributed over the world. And I think this is a bit of a challenge that we're sharing with many people here connected today and with many people from the Global Geoparks Network. How can we balance this a little bit better? How can we promote this concept? And we started with this in Latin America together with the 1 geopark back then, and then soon there came a 2nd geopark, and luckily we could do this with a number of partners. But we've seen that for a long time it stagnated, and then suddenly it got into an explosion, because if I understand well, there is more than 20 geoparks in Latin America in the pipeline, and we see a little bit of a similar tendency, be it with a little bit of a delay in the Arab states and hopefully in Africa as well. Now, we've been centering our focus basically on providing training and providing workshops. It was mentioned by Ernesto as well, this cooperation, this South-South cooperation. Basically, the geoparks, it's in their genetics. It's really how can we help each other? And I think that networking is really also what triggered this explosion. But of course, in order to network, you have to be with more than one. And then promoting the concept as well. And I think this is something that takes a long time. Sometimes we see that at academic level, it is quickly understood. Even the communities can be quickly behind it and putting their shoulders behind it. But it is incredibly important, despite the fact that we promote this as a grassroots-driven project, it is incredibly important that we have support at governmental level. And that's why we are focusing very much as well on that cooperation at national level with the National Commission of UNESCO, but also why we support countries in creating national committees, national geopark committees, so that there is a little bit of a pool of expertise at governmental level that can support these local communities. And that seems to be a recipe for success. We see that this really triggered something in Latin America. There was a greater recognition of what geological heritage could do for them. They understood how this geological heritage can be connected with their culture, with their traditions, and with the natural heritage. And it is something that Latin America is really made for. We saw that there was a tremendous potential, and it was quickly understood. Local communities were benefiting from it. Geotourism was not a taboo. In the contrary, we really see how we can reconcile geotourism with the protection of the territory. And that opened up an entirely new way of working with UNESCO sites. We support small-scale entrepreneurship. We see that in most of the geoparks, there's women corporations and women cooperatives. There is local food being supported. So you really see this component of development, but really economic development being combined with protection. And that is something that we have, of course, not done on our own. There were and there are some partners in Europe as well, with whom we have closely cooperated, and I would like to single out here in particular Spain. Spain is the country after China with most geoparks. There are 16 of them in Spain. They have quickly picked up with, because one of the founding fathers of the geoparks was in Spain with Maestrazgo. So they really quickly understood from very early onwards the importance, the potential of their geological heritage, what it could mean for their geotourism. But what really makes them unique as well, and why we really like working and we see them as a leading example, is also this very close cooperation with the Geological Survey, with the scientists, with a very structured, a very organized way of looking at geoheritage. And I'm very happy to share this session here with Juana as well, who's probably going to explain a little bit more about it. But they developed a very clear methodology, scientific for sure, but also very user-friendly, very applicable elsewhere. And I think we have been able to count on their expertise to promote this concept in Latin America, and now increasingly in other regions. Juana, I assume you will say something about IGME, but for us, IGME is really, it's a partner that I would like to single out here. It's really being a very big support for us in what we're doing now in the Arab states and in Africa as well. And I think this was a little bit the objective of this project as well. When we spoke with Spain at the time, we thought, how can we replicate now this success in Latin America elsewhere? And we know that the context is different, and you cannot just replicate a success formula in another region, but at least you can take those pieces that have worked well and see how they would work in other regions. And this is what we've been doing under this project. I see as well that the cooperation, for example, with the national commissions and what you're doing in Spain with your National Geoparks Committee and what your national forum is something that has been largely picked up as well in some Latin American countries. So this is also an aspect that we really appreciate. We're really grateful for this. Let me maybe, colleagues, also underline here our appreciation for ICIT. ICIT as the International Development Agency, and I'm not sure if Santiago Sierra is connected, but we really appreciate the support, because in ICIT we see much more than just a financial donor. For us, this is also a partner in this long adventure. And I'm very happy that they dared with us to take that step from Latin America to the Arab states and further down to Africa. We see in the meanwhile not only a lot of initiatives in Latin America, but also in the Arab states. Dries Archbal is the coordinator of Mgoun UNESCO Global Geopark. They are really an example and an inspiring example in Morocco for sure, but also in Tunisia, and we see in the other region in Egypt and further down to Senegal, in several African countries, people are taking inspiration from what Dries is doing with Mgoun UNESCO Global Geopark. And we hope that with the support of this project, that we manage to support these initiatives as well in the Arab states and further down in Africa, all the way to a UNESCO Global Geopark. It's a long way for sure. But I just would like to say to the people here, you're not alone. I would like to express as well my gratitude to Serena. I'm very happy that you have been taking this up as well in Latin America. Elsa has been a very strong support as well in the Arab states and further down in Africa. And I would like to thank as well Eugenio. I mean, I cannot underline enough the support of GGN is absolutely crucial for us, and the regional bodies, global, the GeoLAC in Latin America is absolutely crucial for us. It's really important that UNESCO Global Geoparks in the making, that they know that they can support on our champions, on our good geoparks. And this is also what this project is about. So Serena, thank you very much. Colleagues, let me maybe end by saying that I am here as well with my team at headquarters. We're always ready to support you with whatever question you may have. And if we can't help you, we can always connect you with our partners who will be more than happy to support you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christoph. I'm going to challenge the interpreters a little bit. I'm going to switch to Spanish now. Muchas gracias, Christoph, por esta presentación que toca en muchos de los puntos importantísimos de de este proyecto que realmente enfoca en la conexión entre el patrimonio geológico, la importancia de la ciencia geológica y la conservación del patrimonio geológico y cómo impacta y puede ayudar a revitalizar los territorios, las comunidades y las economías locales. Y es realmente una vez que se puede transmitir este mensaje a las autoridades, tanto locales como nacionales, que se captan y se apropian este mensaje a nivel del territorio y de los geoparques y también a nivel nacional. Y por eso creo que es una de las razones que vemos que el programa de geoparques y geociencias es uno de los programas que están creciendo, de la UNESCO, que está creciendo a tasa más rápida en América Latina y el Caribe. Y es ayudado, claro, por este intercambio sur-sur, tal como mencionó Ernesto, y otros intercambios por el red mundial de geoparques y todo el entusiasmo que lo traen los actores y socios de los redes. Así que es un placer de dar bienvenido a otro miembro de esta red y experta en el tema, que es Juana Vega Salamanca, jefa de área de patrimonio geológico y minero en el Instituto Geológico y Minero de España, el IGME que Christoph acaba de mencionar, y que es parte del Ministerio de Ciencia y Innovación y Universidades de España. Ella es doctora en ciencias geológicas por la Universidad Complutense de Madrid y mantiene 2 líneas de especialización dentro de la geología, paleoclimatología de cuaternario y patrimonio geológico y geoconservación. Muchas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros, Juana. La palabra es tuya.
Muchísimas gracias. Aprovechando que tenemos la oportunidad de que nos traduzcan en directo, voy a hablar en español porque, como me gusta decir, me sale la geología más del corazón y me resulta más fácil acercarme en un día como es el de hoy. Así que permitirme, por favor, que lo haga en esta lengua. No puedo empezar sin dar las gracias, por supuesto, a UNESCO, que desde el principio de la carrera profesional en patrimonio geológico siempre ha estado detrás de los grandes proyectos de patrimonio geológico y muy especialmente desde 2016 en que el programa de Geoparques se adopta como programa propio dentro del programa internacional de geociencias y Geoparques. Por supuesto, a la oficina de Montevideo, a todas las personas que trabajáis allí, a todos los miembros del proyecto GEO-Schemas, por darme la oportunidad. Me hubiera gustado estar este día en Marruecos. Todos sabemos cómo terminó todo. Desde aquí mi más sentido apoyo a los compañeros de Marruecos para que se recuperen pronto, y hoy tenemos la oportunidad, me dais la oportunidad de compartir esta tarde con vosotros. Es un honor. Y aunque los he dejado para el final, no puedo olvidarme, por supuesto, de la oficina UNESCO en España, AECID España, que son los que ya, cuando este proyecto se presentó, me permitieron participar en esa primera fase del proyecto, y la verdad que fue una gran alegría ver cómo desde tanto Latinoamérica, el Caribe, como de los países árabes, el sentimiento de los geoparques mundiales de UNESCO, pues la verdad que os ha llevado hasta estar hoy aquí todos juntos y contarnos los grandes logros que habéis conseguido. Enlazando con lo que Christoph había comentado antes, España es el segundo país a nivel mundial en geoparques mundiales de la UNESCO. Esto no es una casualidad. No es una casualidad por su geología, no es una casualidad por su gente, es una casualidad porque desde el año 1970 el Instituto Geológico y Minero de España destinó dinero y recursos humanos en reconocer el patrimonio geológico, en una primera fase el patrimonio geológico a escala nacional, pero por supuesto con el proyecto Global Geosites, que se finalizó en España, lo finalizamos en 2018, pudimos reconocer el patrimonio geológico de relevancia internacional que tenemos en nuestro país. Todo ello con una metodología consensuada con los países que en aquella fase participaron. Eso nos llevó a que nuestra ley nacional incluye esos contextos geológicos como prioridad para proteger y para desarrollarse. Siempre por eso me gusta empezar aquí y por eso y la ciencia sigue teniendo un papel importante en los geoparques mundiales de la UNESCO. Gracias a los científicos, este programa se apoya en esa ciencia básica que es necesario también invertir y que luego da resultados tan buenos como los que estamos viendo. Para nuestros geoparques, en el Comité Nacional Español de Geoparques, es muy fácil justificar esa relevancia internacional cuando antes de tener las nuevas estrategias y la nueva guía que hay ahora para demostrar que un geoparque aspirante tiene un patrimonio geológico de relevancia internacional. Eso ha hecho más fácil el terreno a los aspirantes españoles, han trabajado mucho, pero ya sobre una base muy firme, además justificada con la legislación nacional, y eso es lo que nos hace estar hoy aquí. Por eso el modelo español es tan fácilmente replicable. Exportamos estas metodologías y ensayamos ya con un proyecto con el Servicio Geológico Colombiano. Estuvimos en 2015 y 2016 igual poniendo en marcha en su servicio geológico el inventario y las principales directrices para generar geoparques mundiales de la UNESCO, y por supuesto con el proyecto PANAFGEO en su fase 1 y en su fase 2. Hemos participado en el grupo de trabajo que desarrolla el entrenamiento y la capacitación a todo el personal de los países africanos en hacer esos inventarios nacionales, pero sobre todo en cómo poder promover geoparques mundiales de UNESCO. También quiero recordar nuestro proyecto UGGP 731, como sabéis también soy secretaria general de la Comisión Internacional de Patrimonio Geológico de la IUGS, y desde ahí en consonancia con la Red Mundial de Geoparques hemos sacado estas nuevas directrices un poco para aclarar a todos los aspirantes en sus dosieres qué requisitos mínimos deben tener para justificar bien su patrimonio geológico de relevancia internacional y que sea más fácil a los aspirantes y a los propios evaluadores el revisar y el entender y que las propuestas desde luego lleguen al mejor éxito posible. Me gusta decir, y con esto voy a terminar, que los geoparques mundiales de la UNESCO, y por eso estamos hoy aquí, son el elemento clave y el programa clave para la transición ecológica del planeta. Necesitamos los geoparques para de verdad convencer y acercarnos a las personas y a nuestras comunidades locales, las comunidades indígenas, para mostrarles desde la ciencia las capacidades que tenemos de ser más resilientes ante los riesgos geológicos, otros nichos de empleo, el empleo joven de nuestros científicos, y todo en ese marco de los geoparques mundiales. Y termino con una frase que decía Marie Curie, que a mí de todas las que ella dijo es la que más me gusta a día de hoy, que decía que la humanidad necesita soñadores. Pues yo creo que en los geoparques mundiales de la UNESCO es el mejor ejemplo de personas soñadoras. Jamás pensamos ni desde la ciencia ni desde las administraciones llegar tan lejos como está llegando este programa. Así que, por favor, necesitamos muchos más soñadores y estáis todos bienvenidos, ya sabéis dónde nos tenéis. Muchas gracias a todos.
Muchas gracias, Juana, y pues no lo olvidaré que cuando trabajamos con los geoparques estamos trabajando todos entre soñadores. Voy a cambiarme otra vez al inglés, perdón, intérpretes. I'm switching back to English now. And repeating the closing sentiment of Juana that the world needs dreamers, and when we're working with UNESCO Global Geoparks, we're working with groups of dreamers. So that's a good sentiment. So now I'm going to turn to my colleague with whom I've been working on this project for the last year and a half or so. Elsa Satu, who's going to speak particularly about the activities that have been moving forward in the Arab states. And she's doing this for a very important reason because, as Christoph mentioned, in Latin America and the Caribbean, the sort of geopark fire has taken off, and there's a really good group, the GeoLac network. We have now 12 UNESCO Global Geoparks, and we hope that there will be more this year. And we have a very active GeoLAC network, and there's quite a bit of capacity, not to say that we aren't very focused on building capacity, and we've really had a great opportunity to build capacity, and the tools that we're developing under this project have helped us to build capacity with geotourism, creative economies, geoheritage, geosciences, and conservation of geological heritage. But a really important focus of the work under the Geoschemas project has been to build capacity in the Arab states. So we really wanted to highlight that in this event. So I'm going to give the floor to Elsa Satut, who's the program specialist for ecological and earth sciences in UNESCO Cairo. She received her PhD in agricultural botany from the University of Reading in the UK, and a master's degree in conservation and sustainable use from biodiversity in the International Center for Advanced Mediterranean Agronomic Studies in Crete, Greece. Before joining UNESCO in 2017, she worked on a range of projects with UN agencies, universities, and governments related to botany, ecology, conservation, and environmental sciences, amongst other things, including in Lebanon, Bahrain, Oman, and Saudi Arabia. Elsa, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Serena. Hello, everyone. Again, I'm really glad also to be able to be part of this closing event, because in Marrakesh I couldn't have done it if it would happen. So, and it was a great pleasure for me to cooperate with colleagues from Montevideo, and also for sure with Christophe from the headquarters. So I will try to be very brief. I will present in English. If any of the audience are present with us and they would need like a specific translation into Arabic, I can just give some terminology if it's difficult, but we have already interpretation in Arabic with us here in the meeting today. So first, let me start to share my screen. As Serena said, I will just present what has been done in the Arab states. So can you see my screen? 1 minute. I think.
Yes, we can see. Yes. It's
yeah.
good.
It's good. Okay. So just to bring back some information about the project in the Arab region, what we covered here in this region, we had Algeria, Egypt, Libya, Mauritania, Morocco, Tunisia, and Senegal. And in fact, as you know, in the Arab region, we don't have UNESCO Global Geopark, just in Morocco, which is the only UNESCO Global Geopark in Amgroun. So in this project, it was really the main objective, and the importance of this project was to introduce the UNESCO Global Geopark to the Arab community. I see the hand of Dr. Nouri. Dr. Nouri, do you have anything to? Okay. So yes, sorry. The specificity of the project, that even though we worked on the recipient country, these are the countries that are targeted by this project. We enlarged the scope of the project, and we went beyond these 6 recipient countries, and it was a great experience and a rich experience for us here in the region. So the main driving forces here for this region was to convene local stakeholders and national stewards of geological heritage conservation in the Arab world, draw a clear pathway to ensure the readiness of aspiring UNESCO Global Geopark in North Africa, Arab state to join UNESCO Global Geopark, and also to ensure the impact of positive externalities of this project, which really were great in terms of going beyond the recipient countries which were targeted by this project. We started for sure because we started from scratch here in the region. It was quite different from LAC region. They already had UNESCO Global Geopark, and they have a rich experience in terms of the management and the conservation of geological heritage. We started with online meeting. We directly went to the UNESCO national commissions just to try to make it more solid in terms of the approach and the methodology of work. We introduced UNESCO Global Geopark, their designation, etc. Then we asked them to work at the national level to have the UNESCO, the National Geopark Committee in their own country. It took a long time. It was a little bit challenging to have these National Geopark Committee, and we succeeded to have the National Geopark Committee in 13 countries, not only in the 6 countries covered by the project, and also we have like 99 members of these UNESCO National Geopark Committee in the 13 countries. For sure, each country, it has its own specificity in terms of the structure of their National Geopark Committee, but we have a variety of discipline in some countries on the UNESCO National Geopark Committee, and some others quite different. So there were different visions in terms of how to approach the geopark, geological heritage conservation, and the designation of UNESCO Global Geopark in the country here. What we came up is really a list of potential geopark, UNESCO Global Geopark, the aspiring site in the Arab region. And throughout the project and throughout the events that we have done in the context of this project, we have brought additional aspiring geopark site lately, which came up from UNESCO. Let's say, for example, UNDP cooperation. We have identified some new geopark, aspiring geopark sites in Lebanon. And also we have, the project fostered some activity in terms of working in Iraq, working in United Arab Emirates, and also in Saudi Arabia and in Yemen. So this is the positive externalities really, or the positive impact. We are happy we reach this in the context of this project. So these are part, this we have the gathering online of the country representative, either from UNESCO National Commission or from the National Geopark Committees that was established during this project. So we have now National Geopark Committee in Egypt, in Syria, Jordan, Mauritania, Yemen, Kuwait, Tunisia, Oman, Sudan, United Arab Emirates, Morocco, Libya, and also Saudi Arabia. We have really established this network of people, and we followed up on this, on bringing them together through certain activities that we have done also here in the office, and it was addressed to the region, which, for example, was the wildlife talks. And we brought the project and UNESCO Global Geopark, and we tried to have also journalism on board in order to popularize or reach more a wider community to know about UNESCO Global Geopark. So in terms of achievements, I can say we have done a lot, and especially that the region, we really started from scratch. So we reached what we were aiming for in terms of this project. So we have provided support to the member state to establish their National Geopark Committee. We have identified also throughout the activities of this project national and local stakeholders, and we have also developed stakeholders maps through different activities that were held also in cooperation for sure with Montevideo. Most of these activity and a large part of it was done in close cooperation and coordination with Montevideo office. We have built a list of aspiring UNESCO Global Geopark. We have strengthened the knowledge about it and built capacity. And also we have capitalized on the value of sustainable international and domestic tourism and geotourism in aspiring UNESCO Global Geopark, trying to bring this to the region. This is, don't forget that I'm talking to the region where we have a little bit, we are new. The member states are not really so much, not knowledgeable, but they are not so aware of the UNESCO Global Geopark. So the activities that we have done here, we have capacity development and outreach type of activity. We had the first leadership course in the region. It's really pioneering, and its first edition was organized in December 2022. And we brought the experience of Spain, experience of Morocco, experience of also Portugal, and from Canada in terms of UNESCO Global Geopark. Some of the experts joined us in person, some others joined us online. And the main aim was to start to build capacity of the representative of member state, and especially member of the National Geopark Committee on the geological heritage conservation in UNESCO Geopark context. So we have done a visit to an aspiring geopark site where now Egypt is working on it, is the Wales Valley. And for sure there was this exchange of experience and knowledge, and how to move forward, even in terms of finance, how to mobilize resources to keep the portfolio of the geopark sustained after this project ends. As I said, it was the first edition, and we aim to sustain this course and try to cater it, maybe to build a certain, package to be delivered to the representative from the Arab region, and also maybe adapted to LAC in terms of background information, because there's some difference in here when we want to adapt it to other regions. Another type of activity, the project, as the Geoschema project, we have had a side event during the COP27 where we brought, it was about Geopark and Biosphere Reserve, and we brought for sure people from Morocco in terms of presenting the experience in UNESCO Global Geopark. We brought hospitality aspect, how to really work on it at local level and even at the subnational level in order to improve the geotourism aspect in the geopark. We brought some experience also from traditional craft and creative economy from Egypt, where we had with us the Abu Ghussoun village in Egypt. We had also Biosphere Reserve from Dana, and this was really successful, we can say, because there was some follow-up after this COP site event with people from Egypt. And also we are following up on how to set up the hospitality aspect in the context of Geopark, and this is planned for the future. In Expo Dubai also we had an intervention for the project. We had a side event where we brought people from the GGN, from Morocco, and also we also had people about arts and geological heritage in this side event, and I can say it was also successful. Other than this, we tried to bring geological heritage in an activity we launched before the project. It's a UNESCO Little Arab Explorer, and here we have done an activity while we merge art with science in terms of bringing the geological heritage and how to do the interpretation for the kids in terms of the geological heritage, and also it included the biodiversity in terms of Biosphere Reserve. Other than this, we had the series of wildlife talks where we have integrated the UNESCO Global Geopark, and we talked about the potential geological heritage in the Arab region and what are the aspiring geopark sites that we have compiled throughout the implementation of this project. This I was not expecting. I thought it will be introduced by Montevideo, but it's important, and it was mentioned by Serena and also by Christophe and Ernesto. We had the first event that we had in this project. It was an interregional event about creative economy. And we had 135 participants, and we brought like international speaker and experts from all over the world. And it was about geopark, but at the same time, we talked about creative economy, traditional product, traditional craft, how to really ensure to leverage the local community livelihood, were having them part of this UNESCO Global Geopark Conservation and Management. These are some screenshots from the event. Last, I will close with this. This is very important because it will ensure the sustainability of the activity of the project. We have now the Geoesquema website, which is being developed for sure. We have developed this website taking into account Arab state and LAC. In terms of context and geological heritage and the activities that took place, it still needs some work to have it ready to be functional, I mean, and provide the services that we want. What we have on the website, we will for sure, we have put access to some knowledge products about UNESCO Global Geopark or geological heritage conservation and management from different perspectives. We present the project and we talk about it and the activity that were organized under this project. The next step is to put the geotourism in terms of geotourism toolkit and the advanced geoscience course. Sorry, I didn't mention it, but also we have developed an advanced geoscience course. And the geotourism toolkit, in fact, they will be part of this website where we aim to sustain the activity in terms of training of either local communities. We think that we will have different trainings and they will be addressed to different sectors in terms of policymaker, private sector. This is still a little bit under discussion before we finalize the decision how to move forward on the advanced geoscience course, and also the geotourism toolkit, which it will be presented by our colleague Jad Abu Arash. So we have also a corner or a web page for the resources and the publication. We have the news also. It will be it's already posted on our website, and we will open the chance to have a newsletter, to subscribe to a newsletter where we will be following up on all the news that will be taking place in the region, in both regions, in fact. And I see that the outcome of this project, again, I repeat, it brought a lot of good things, not only to the recipient country, good things, I mean, good outcomes, not only in the recipient country, but we moved to the whole Arab state in terms of 19 Arab countries. So we reached really a wider area or region than the one we have planned during the conception of this project. So I hope I covered everything. Serena, if I missed anything, so please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Elsa. A very comprehensive coverage of the main outcomes of the project. And I think it's especially important to focus on the important developments in the Arab states, and it's very useful to see how much it's been able to stimulate organization awareness raising, particularly of UNESCO Global Geoparks and the International Geosciences and Geoparks program in the Arab states. Elsa finished by talking about the geotourism toolkit, And the next part of our program is dedicated to presenting that. And I see there's already a question on that in the chat. So I also want to encourage the panelists to keep an eye on the question and answer section that's at the bottom of your screen. And also the audience, please, if you have questions, please put those in the question and answer section on the screen. Right now, we are going to turn to Jad Abu Araj, who has is working on the Geotourism Toolkit, which we're just finalizing now, and will be available probably in about a month's time and will be published. Jad is an agricultural engineer with a PhD in technological innovation for agro-industries and environment from the University of Milan. He's worked on the design, implementation, and evaluation of rural and sustainable ecotourism for the past 15 years, collaborating with UN agencies, governments, and the private sector. And he's currently a lecturer in environmental economics from the American University in Beirut. He is, like I said, he's working with us as an expert consultant. And finally, I just want to say we're running a little bit over time. So I ask you please to be a little bit aware of the time. And I'm also going to just send you a little warning when you're coming to the end of your allotted time. Jad, thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Serena. Before I start, I would like just to have a confirmation that you can see the presentation that is shared.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity to present the Geotourism Toolkit. It will be a brief presentation. I will just present the structure of the toolkit, what are the different sections of the toolkit, and what are the different subsections of each of the main sections. This toolkit is mainly focusing on geotourism, and the objective is to provide existing UNESCO Global Geoparks, aspiring geoparks, and also geopark project managers with all the knowledge and resources that might use and put in action, enable to foster geotourism in their geoparks and in the surrounding of the geopark in order to enhance the visitor experience and of course to achieve the objectives of the geopark, which are geoconservation, geoeducation, geotourism development and promotion, and of course, sustainable local development. So this is mainly the objective of the toolkit. The toolkit is divided into two main sections, a brief introduction about the UNESCO Global Geoparks as sustainable tourism destinations. And in this toolkit, we speak a lot about destinations, how we can transform the whole geopark into a destination for geotourism. So the introduction is brief. Then the second large part of the toolkit is the different sections that will help us to plan and manage geotourism in the geopark, in the different sites, in the geosites, as well as services and activities that are related to hospitality, tourism activities, and so on. So we have 9 sections in the toolkit. I will present them in a sequential way. The first section is about stakeholder identification and engagement, which is essential for geopark establishment, also for geotourism planning and management. So this is the first section. The second section is about geotourism potential assessment. And this is very related to geosites assessment that is usually done when we establish a geopark. But here we focus on the relationship between geosites and geotourism and their potential to develop geotourism services, activities, and events. The third section is about how we set a vision, a mission, a strategy, and actions for geotourism specifically in our geopark. The fourth section is about resources management, how we manage our resources, whether they are natural, human resources, financial resources, and so on. The fifth section is about developing product offering And here we have a lot of details about geo trails, geo museums, geo guiding, geo restaurants, geo food, and so on. Then a visitor management plan, and this section is very important to monitor visitation to geoparks and geosites and to reduce the potential negative impacts on our geopark. Then we have a very important section on sustainability standards, criteria, certification, and labeling. And we have a section dedicated to marketing and promotion, which usually comes after product development, managing the visitors, and getting certification, and finally monitoring and evaluation. So those are the 9 main sections of the geotourism toolkit. Now I will give examples. Under each of these sections, we have, let's take, for example, section B, which is geotourism potential assessment. In each section, you will find different subsections. These subsections include tools, for example. Tools, we will see now examples, are actionable step-by-step tasks with their description. We will see an example for 2 tools, for example, from different sections. Then also in the section, we have guidelines. And here the difference is that guidelines is a framework to inform decision makers to take appropriate actions with relation to geotourism. Okay, the third subsection is the processes. And here we use visual and systematic sequences designed to accomplish a specific outcome. We will also now see an example of a process that is described under a section. Then we have very specific tips. Here we give a practical advice and recommendation for achieving better results related to geotourism. And the last subsection under each of the main section are exhibits where we have definitions, maybe some concepts that are clarified more, some examples, some figures, some photos, some websites. So all of them are classified under exhibits. So 9 main sections. Under each of the sections, we have tools, guidelines, processes, tips, and exhibits. So let's look at some examples. We took, for example, section 2, which is the geotourism potential assessment. One of the tools, as we said, a tool will have steps and tasks. For example, here, what are the steps to assess geotourism potential? We have, for example, 8 steps, and each of these steps has different tasks, and usually they are presented sequentially, so we have to follow them from 1 to 8. Another tool, for example, in section E, developing a product offering, we have a tool, how we develop a visitor center for geotourism. Again, we have steps. Here we have 7 steps. Each step is detailed into several tasks under each of the steps. So those are, for example, tools that you can find in each section. Then we have the guidelines. In each section, also, we took an example in geotourism potential assessment. For example, we have guidelines for the categorization of geosites. And these guidelines usually are taken from scientific methods that are published recently and that could be followed to categorize geosites, but also to link them to geotourism. For instance, when linking the geosite category under scientific, cultural, historical, spiritual, or educational, we will know how to benefit from this geosite in geoeducation and geotourism interpretation. The example for the guidelines here, we took, you can see it's a lot of details, you will see them. We took section E, which is developing product offering, and the guideline here is about offering nature-based and adventure activities. So whenever we plan for, let's say, climbing, caving, mountain biking, all these activities that can be done in a geopark, close or in a geosites, we have guidelines for these activities. A process, so we have tools, guidelines. Now we will look at process. Under geotourism potential assessment, an example of a process is how to do a geosite assessment. So also this is based on different references, very recent publications on doing a geo or assessment of a geosite that can be potentially used in geotourism. So here, for example, we have the first main part is making the inventory, classifying, showcasing the values, then how we manage this, how we protect it, and how we promote it. Another process is, for example, providing interpretive facilities. And here we have off-site interpretation or in-site interpretation. We differentiate between everything that is done in museums, visitor centers, and everything that is done on-site on geo trails, geo itineraries, and so on. Then we have tips, as we said, we can have different tips for each section. Here we give tips on human resource management and staffing. Those are only examples. Under section D, you will find tools, guidelines, tips, and exhibits and processes, okay? So this is an example of tips on human resources and staffing in geotourism. Another tip box is on developing geotourism products and experiences. And here we see the pillars of how we transform a product into an experience. It should have the characteristics of fun, learning, value, interactivity, memorable, safe at the same time. So those are tips for practitioners, geotourism practitioners, geopark managers, but also here, for example, it could be for tour operators who operate in geoparks and provide geotourism experiences. Then we have exhibits. As we said, exhibits can be graphics, visuals. This is an example on stakeholder identification and management and the relationship between DMOs and geoparks and how DMOs play a role in geotourism. Another exhibit, for example, is an example from a geopark in Canada about safety tips and tips for the respect of the natural environment in a geopark or on a geo trail, for example. So basically, those are the components of the toolkit. This section of the presentation was supposed to be interactive. We were planning to do this in Marrakesh, but unfortunately, we couldn't do it. I will just present quickly a cross-cutting tool that we can use in any of our sections in the geotourism toolkit, which is the problem tree. Today, we know that tourism has a lot of challenges, especially when it comes to respecting the natural heritage, geosites, and so on, especially with the new trends of tourism. So we tried to identify several problems related to geotourism or challenges. We put these problems, I will explain this very quickly, but you can use this tool. You can identify a main problem. We will see examples. Then you will put the causes of this problem. Then what are the consequences of this problem? And what is interesting in this tool, we will see now the example. Here we listed some of the main key problems in geotourism, like stakeholder engagement, degradation, dissatisfaction of visitors, lack of resources, difficulty in popularizing geo-heritage interpretation, and so on. We took the example of dissatisfaction of visitors, okay, which is a problem in geotourism. What are the causes? We can list the causes, the direct cause and the root cause, okay? For example, pricing, low value, poor infrastructure, limited information and signage, and so on. Then what are the consequences that are reflected by this problem? And we draw this problem tree. And directly, when we have the problem tree, we can easily shift and transform this problem tree into a solution tree. So what we see here as negative statements, dissatisfaction, decrease in the number of visitors, decrease in revenue, poor infrastructure, and so on, we directly transform this into a positive statement. Highly satisfied visitor, excellent infrastructure, increased number of visitors, and so on. So this is a very basic and very easy tool that can be applied on all sections. So it's very basic. It's not included per se in the toolkit, but it's a very interesting tool to kick off your work on geotourism planning and management. Then you can apply it on things related to geosites, conservation, marketing, visitor management planning, museums, etc. So this is my intervention. I hope I respected the time, Serena.
Yes, thank you very much, Jad. In fact, we have time for one or two questions. I'm going to start by reading out a question that was put, the question that was put in the chat, in fact, before you gave your presentation, part of the question, because I think I already answered the other part. Miriam Pire, who is coordinator of the aspirant UNESCO Global Geopark of Tungurahua in Ecuador, wants to know what this is based on, the geotourism toolkit.
Yes. So basically, to develop the toolkit, it took quite a very extensive process. We did, of course, a desk review, a literature review of all publications, reports, or scientific articles about geoparks and geotourism from all over the world. Then we did consultation meetings and workshops with the countries participating in the Geoesquema project. And we elaborated the different sections of the geopark, of the geotourism planning and management in geoparks. Also, it has a part that was based on tourism planning and management. So we tried to combine tourism sustainable development and the objectives of geoparks, which are conservation, geoeducation, and local development. And we combined these two main, let's say, concepts of geoparks, sustainable tourism development, in order to have this geotourism toolkit that will respond to the needs of geoparks to plan and manage geotourism in a sustainable way. I don't know if I answered the question.
Thank you, Jad. Just to supplement that, I think we counted about 10 people from 10 geoparks, geopark projects, and aspirant geoparks that from about 10 countries that participated in the process. So thank you very much to all of those who participated. Are there any other questions for Jad? I'll take one more. Those of you who are participants, you may need to put your questions in the Q&A section, or maybe Facundo can read them out in the chat, if they're in the chat. Otherwise, we may pass on to the next speaker. Nuri, please. Dr. Nuri. Dr. Nuri, did you have the floor? Yes, you have the floor. I'm sorry, Dr. Nuri, we can't hear you. I'm not sure if you're speaking or not. Perhaps we'll pass on to the next speaker and come back to you. I'm sorry about that. Camila, I'm going to pass over to Spanish again. Camila es directora de turismo de la Municipalidad de Vilcún, Geoparque Mundial de la UNESCO de Cutracura en Chile. Ella es administradora de empresas de turismo por la Universidad Austral de Chile, licenciada en turismo y técnico universitario en turismo por la Universidad Católica de Temuco. Ella también es gestora de proyectos de la Cámara de Turismo en la Municipalidad del Vilcún y gestora de proyecto turismo de del Geoparque Mundial de la UNESCO Cultural Cura en Chile. Camila, quisiera que presentas con tu experiencia en el Geoparque Mundial de la UNESCO de Cultura Cura y también si puedes comentar un poco sobre lo que acaba de presentar Jad. Muchas gracias, la palabra es tuya.
Mari Compuche, muy buenos días a todos. Primero, agradecer el espacio desde una mirada más local y por supuesto en representación de los pueblos originarios, que es lo que me mueve como profesional. Tomando de la mano y en el sentido de estos componentes de planificación, si bien son efectivos en un proceso de toma de decisiones, tanto para las propias comunidades como para los gremios turísticos y la consolidación de mesas de trabajo desde un ámbito público y privado, desde nuestra experiencia y a través de acciones técnicas, por una parte superamos las brechas existentes que están en el territorio y por otra parte abordamos las oportunidades, ¿ya? Presentando tanto gestiones, acciones, proyectos, tanto a nivel regional y local, y esto para la ejecución de distintos planes de acción que hoy están presentes en el Geoparque Mundial UNESCO Cultural Cura, como por ejemplo los planes de acción de las zonas de interés turísticas, que actualmente son 5 comunas declaradas como zonas de interés. Y esto nos permite, por una parte, descentralizar un poco las políticas públicas y llevarlas a una ejecución más local. Entendiendo lo que son las zonas de interés turístico en nuestras áreas, son territorios, si bien con condiciones especiales para la atracción turística, también requieren medidas de conservación específicas. Por otra parte, tienen una planificación integrada y promueven a través de estrategias tanto la inversión pública como privada. Desde estos planes, nosotros priorizamos distintos lineamientos que establece tanto la Política Nacional de Turismo a través de la Subsecretaría de Turismo, la Ley de Turismo y el Decreto número 30, que establecen los requisitos para declarar una zona de interés turístico. Y es aquí donde ponemos el foco y priorizamos lo que son el diseño de experiencias turísticas orientadas al geoturismo por una parte, pero a través de la innovación tecnológica. Y eso es un claro ejemplo también que se vincula a los componentes de esta herramienta, que son la creación de estos capturadores tecnológicos para el levantamiento de nuevos geositios en esta etapa de expansión que tuvo el Geoparque Cultural Cura, la creación de nuevas plataformas digitales de comercialización que permiten la operación de cierta forma de los prestadores de servicios turísticos, ofrecer experiencias turísticas dentro del territorio. Esto en base a una gestión sostenible, a la participación comunitaria, a actividades no masivas y orientadas directamente a un turismo de intereses especiales. Y por supuesto, aprender de las geociencias. Esto es relevante en temas de participación desde nuestras comunidades, desde los propios prestadores de servicios turísticos, que son quienes presentan una oferta turística orientada a la gastronomía con identidad, al agroturismo y al turismo científico. ¿Y quién más que las propias comunidades, desde un ámbito local, desde las propias municipalidades y de los profesionales que tenemos un foco en la pertinencia turística con identidad, conocemos los derechos desde nuestra propia cosmovisión, tanto los derechos de la naturaleza y de cómo proteger los ecosistemas que nosotros habitamos y promovemos para un turismo sustentable? Eso por mi parte y muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Camila. Es muy interesante el programa en Cultural Cura y será un gusto de conocerlo más en 25, ¿verdad? Cuando todos vamos ahí para el próximo Congreso Mundial de Geoparques y vamos a conocer más. Algo que para la región de América Latina, el Caribe, es muy interesante es la participación de los pueblos indígenas, en particular el pueblo mapuche, en el plan de geoturismo y las actividades de geoturismo. ¿Tú podrías comentar un poco más sobre eso?
Sí, bueno, los procesos de participación más bien con las propias comunidades, el levantamiento se hizo a través de una consulta indígena, ¿ya? En algunos procesos, siempre cuando aplique en el territorio. En nuestro caso, para el proceso de elaboración de los planes de acción, no aplicó una consulta indígena porque en los distintos gremios de turismo las lideraban tanto autoridades ancestrales, profesionales mapuche y los propios prestadores de servicios que tienen origen mapuche. Entonces, si bien el proceso de participación no se siguió de acuerdo en este caso, a un proceso de consulta directamente, ellos son parte de las mesas público-privadas y por ende sus opiniones, sugerencias respecto al desarrollo turístico de la comuna en sí y del territorio son válidas, más que válidas podría decirlo, porque como mencionaba anteriormente, desde nuestra propia cosmovisión tratamos de instaurar principios de conservación, principios culturales, ya sea a través del desarrollo de productos, a través de la economía y de cómo lo hacemos de una forma más responsable con nuestro medio ambiente.
Muchas gracias, Camila. I'm going to switch back to English now and see if Nuri is available. Nuri, are you able to speak to us? Can we hear you? Dr. Nuri is the next speaker, but he seems to be having problems in connecting from Libya. And so we're going to keep trying to connect with him and hopefully we'll get his presentation, because obviously it's very important to hear from the Arab states in this session, and particularly the development of geotourism in the Arab states, especially given Elsa's presentation. This project has had a very important impact for capacity development in the Arab states. But while we're waiting for that, and Nuri, Dr. Nuri, please let me know if you're able to connect again. We're going to turn back to questions. I've seen a new question in the Q&A section. Please, colleagues, please put your questions in the Q&A section if you have them. The Yamil Ramirez from the UNESCO Global Geopark Colca y Volcanes in Peru says for him it's not clear what indicators are associated with the outputs of the toolkit. In terms of valorizing geotourism resources, could you talk more, Jad, about that, please?
Yes, of course. So basically, it's mainly about geosites. In any geopark, usually valuing the geological heritage is through conserving and giving a value for the geosites, not only for geotourism, but also for geoeducation, conservation, research, scientific research. Now, through geotourism, we can use indicators related to how tourism can contribute to conservation, okay, how tourism can contribute to bringing resources, financial resources for research development, and how also we have indicators, economic indicators related to income generated by tourism. So it's basically, first we have the value given to the geosites in the geopark, then we have the value given to the geosites through geotourism development and promotion. Now we have different, of course, we have different activities related to geotourism. We can also speak about tourism services and activities that are not directly related to the geosite itself. We have a lot of mainstream tourism activities like accommodation, food and beverage, and here we have simple tourism indicators that we can measure in terms of number of visitors, frequency of visitors, and so on. So we have a lot of indicators. It depends, and this is mainly explained in the section, in the last section, in monitoring and evaluation. So the measurements, the metrics with relation to evaluating geotourism impact on geosites in general, on the geopark, but also on the economy and the social dimension in the geopark, are all detailed in the monitoring and evaluation section, which is the last one.
If I can also add that the idea with the toolkit is that it's very flexible, so that the first steps are about you coming together as managers and stakeholders of your UNESCO Global Geopark or aspirant geopark or geopark project to design together what your geotourism strategy is, and you decide based on that strategy what the indicators are. And then the toolkit points to various places where you can look for the appropriate indicators. And as Jad points out, there are indicators suggested, but you also have national tourism strategies. You have, you may have strategies for your state or region or municipio or intendencia that you can draw from to make sure that your geotourism strategy is aligned with your political region or wherever it is that you're aligning at different levels. So one of the first steps is to precisely select the indicators that you're going to use to measure the success and the progress of your geotourism strategy. Driss, please.
أهلا وسهلا. I don't know if I can take the floor in English, in Arabic, or in French.
Yes, I think in French or Arabic, yes.
Donc, je vais parler en français. Ok. Bonjour tout le monde, je suis ravi d'être avec vous. C'est l'occasion pour dire à Camilia, je suis heureux pour Catral Cora et Chili pour l'organisation de la 11e conférence internationale des Geoparcs de l'UNESCO. المؤتمر الذي سينظم في 2025 في كاترال كورا بخصوص فقط بخصوص Please, I'm sorry. Je vais continuer en français. C'est juste pour vous dire que le tourisme géologique ou le tourisme écologique ou le tourisme de montagne, c'est vraiment très intéressant pour le concept des géoparcs de l'UNESCO. Pourquoi? Parce que notre modèle du géoparc de Mgoun au Maroc, qui est le leader en Afrique et dans le monde arabe, et qu'on essaye actuellement de partager avec l'assistance de Elsa et le bureau de l'UNESCO au Caire et avec Christophe au niveau de l'Afrique, c'est pour accompagner au maximum les pays africains et les pays arabes à intégrer le concept du géoparc de l'UNESCO. Comme vous le savez, le géoparc de Mgoun, qui se trouve dans une zone de montagne, une zone avec beaucoup de difficultés, avec des populations soi-disant pauvres, mais avec le concept du géoparc, depuis 2014, qu'on a été labellisé en tant que géoparc de l'UNESCO. Le géoparc a réalisé beaucoup d'exploits. Il est devenu un vecteur de développement territorial incontournable. C'est-à-dire qu'aujourd'hui, la population locale vit l'ancrage du concept du géoparc. Tout le monde parle géoparc. Aujourd'hui, on a une association des guides de montagne qui compte pratiquement plus que 300 guides de montagne. On a plus que 200 établissements d'accueil touristique au niveau du territoire du géoparc. Le Mgoun, c'est pratiquement 5730 km² dans une zone de montagne très difficile. On est pratiquement à 22 géosites qui sont labellisés par l'UNESCO. Et on a créé un réseau de géopartenaires qui sont les coopératives de développement de l'économie sociale et solidaire. Pratiquement, on a un réseau de 43 coopératives qui travaillent sur l'artisanat, l'économie sociale et solidaire, le développement des produits de terroir. On a créé un club géoparc des sports nautiques et des sports de montagne qui crée de la richesse aujourd'hui. L'équipe nationale du Maroc de rafting est composée à 100% par les jeunes et les athlètes du géoparc. On organise beaucoup d'événements, beaucoup d'activités. Aujourd'hui, le musée de la géologie qu'on a ouvert grâce à l'association Geoparques au niveau du territoire, au niveau de la ville des Îles, et qui est ouvert au grand public, a créé toute une dynamique économique, toute une dynamique d'attractivité touristique pour notre territoire, pour notre géoparc. Donc là, pour la visibilité, on a construit une via ferrata, 3 maisons de géoparc pour plus de visibilité. On a une équipe de football qui joue avec le logo du géoparc de Mgoun. On organise beaucoup d'activités culturelles, sportives au niveau chaque année. Nos géoparcs aujourd'hui, avec une forte opération de communication, on a produit des films, un site web, une présence sur les réseaux sociaux, la carte géotouristique, la carte géologique, c'est-à-dire toute une dynamique qu'on a créée au niveau du territoire qui a permis aujourd'hui à ce que la population locale, qui était dans un état de vulnérabilité et de pauvreté, a pu sortir de cet état. Il vit actuellement dans la dignité, en se basant sur les ressources naturelles et les richesses architecturales et naturelles du territoire de son géoparc, pour vivre dans des conditions vraiment que je considère extraordinaires. Un modèle qu'on essaie actuellement de partager, comme je viens de le dire, avec les pays arabes et africains. On a participé à tous les événements que Ilza Stato a organisés à Expo Dubaï 2020, en Irak, en Arabie Saoudite, en Égypte, et avec Christophe à Nairobi en Kenya, à Baringo, et avec le réseau africain du géoparc, on continue à travailler pour promouvoir ce tourisme, aider les populations locales à bénéficier des richesses de leur territoire. Donc là, en l'absence de Nouri de la Commission nationale de la Libye, j'ai voulu juste prendre un petit peu la parole pour représenter un petit peu les pays arabes et parler d'une belle expérience qu'on est en train de partager aujourd'hui. Et comme vous avez vu, je vois des visages que j'ai eu l'occasion de rencontrer à Marrakech lors de la conférence internationale des Geoparques. C'était un très, très beau événement qu'on a vu ensemble malgré le séisme qui nous a chamboulé un petit peu vers la fin. Mais ça reste de beaux souvenirs sur le Geoparc de Mgoun et malheureusement, on n'a pas pu organiser les visites guidées. Mais je vous promets qu'on va organiser d'autres événements et vous serez présente avec nous pour découvrir les richesses de ce territoire. Voilà, merci de m'avoir écouté.
Merci beaucoup, Driss. Et j'espère que tous les gens de Maroc, de Marrakech et des montagnes d'Atlas vont un chemin de récupérer. I said thank you to Driss, and I hope that all the people of Marrakech, of Morocco, and of the high Atlas Mountains are recuperating. And they were very, very kind to us after the earthquake and during the conference. It was a very important time for all of us who were there. And I think just to pick up a few points that Driss made about geotourism and tourism in the UNESCO Global Geoparks is one of the points he made very importantly is that geotourism isn't just, or ecotourism isn't just about the people who come to the park. It's about engaging with the people who live in the UNESCO Global Geopark and about making sure that it's their project as well. And so the toolkit is also talks about, and Jad pointed out that one of the first step is the engagement with the stakeholders. And it talks about how important it is that they're involved in every step of the process, all of the different stakeholders, so that when you develop a story about how you present your UNESCO Global Geopark and your territory to visitors, it's a story that people feel part of and are proud to share, be they hotel operators, restaurant operators, tour guides, providers of different types of goods and services. They're all sharing in that story and presenting that story that is part of their identity, and it helps to revitalize identities, it helps to revitalize pride, and becomes a really important part of what it is to be a UNESCO Global Geopark. So we hope that this geotourism toolkit can help to develop some of that. And also because we know that in the UNESCO Global Geoparks, you have many experts on these different areas, it also is modular. So you can say, well, we're really good in this aspect, but maybe we need to work a little bit in the other aspect, or maybe we just need a few ideas. So you can pick out the bits and pieces that you feel like you need some special work in, and focus on that aspect. So I'm just going to give one more try to Nuri, and if Nuri,
Yeah,
Elsa,
Serena, yeah, he apologized. He cannot make it. The internet is not working in Libya.
Okay,
He apologized.
so maybe
Yes.
I think what we'll do is we'll invite him to send a recorded version of his presentation, and we'll make sure that we put it on the website. It's unfortunate that we can't have his presentation with us today, but it is one of the limits of online events. So we'll pass on now to the closing session of the event. And for the closing session, we have some excellent speakers and excellent representatives of the different networks and of the UNESCO Global Geoparks. Let me just pull up my document. So we pass on now to officially close the event to a colleague who is here in Uruguay with UNESCO Montevideo, myself and our team, and Ernesto, Eugenio Bidondo, and I'm going to change to Spanish again, es coordinador del Geoparque Mundial de la UNESCO, Grutas del Palacio, y de la Red de Geoparques de América Latina y el Caribe, la Red GeoLAC. Él es director de turismo de la Intendencia de Flores en Uruguay. Eugenio es analista en comercio exterior y diplomado en consultoría empresarial, organizacional, agropecuaria. Él es integrante activista de varias organizaciones sociales como el Rotary, la ONG Grupo por Hongos, Fundación ACAC y Young America's Business Trust, entre otras. Y también sé que muy a menudo él dice todo lo que quería decir sobre los geoparques, la red GeoLAC y lo que estamos diciendo. Así que todo lo que se me olvidé a decir sobre este proyecto, yo estoy segura que Eugenio lo va a decir de manera más inspiradora. Así que la palabra es tuya, Eugenio.
Muchas gracias, querida Serena. Me has puesto en un compromiso, sin duda, pero realmente un placer estar hoy aquí. El saludo especial a todos los que están compartiendo la mesa de ponencia, a Christoph, a Ernesto, bueno, Elsa, Camila, a nuestro experto, Yada Bout, que hizo un trabajo excepcional. Y bueno, ¿y qué decirles? Aquí estamos hablando de UNESCO, muchas gracias enormes por liderar este proceso, a las oficinas de Montevideo, del Cairo, de España, a la Agencia Española de la Cooperación, el agradecimiento muy especial por el apoyo. Y esto es parte de lo que trata esto, la importancia de trabajar en conjunto, en un mundo donde el individualismo no corre más y donde si no generamos esas alianzas, poco futuro tienen las organizaciones, las instituciones. Lo decía Christophe, pronto vamos a hacer 211 geoparques mundiales de la UNESCO y esto va en pleno crecimiento. En América Latina y el Caribe vamos a tener 13 geoparques mundiales de la UNESCO y tenemos más de 100 proyectos de geoparques y geoparques aspirantes, lo cual remarca un desafío enorme en un momento donde, como tú lo decías, Serena, es el programa joven, es un programa nuevo, es el más jovencito que tiene la UNESCO y que, así como lo decía también Juana, de la importancia de la adaptabilidad, por ejemplo, de lo que es la UG en sus componentes o de las instituciones geológicas, a la realidad de esa conexión con la gente. Y eso es lo importante en esto. Creo que tratar los temas de la importancia geológica en conexión con esos aspectos culturales, esos aspectos identitarios de la comunidad, de esos sitios que son de relevancia internacional desde el punto de vista científico, pero que muchas veces la comunidad esa parte no la entiende, pero sí porque tienen una simbología o representan algo muy fuerte para su comunidad, es de los proyectos más hermosos de ver cómo se conecta una cosa con otra. Y el geoturismo es un elemento de desarrollo como son los geoparques en sí. Y América Latina y el Caribe en particular tiene una diversidad riquísima, enorme, con distintas realidades culturales, geológicas, naturales, que encontramos aspectos de geología de más de 2.000 millones de años, como recientemente creados hace 700.000 años o poco más. Esa diversidad lo hace muy rico. En un mundo donde la Organización Mundial del Turismo remarca la importancia de una nueva ola de turismo hacia un turismo de naturaleza. Y vaya si en ese sentido debemos de ser responsables. Esta caja de herramientas que hoy se está gestando con el esfuerzo que la UNESCO está poniendo y con el aporte de todos los geoparques que se han involucrado, porque no es que se escribió en un escritorio, sino que se salió a campo y se recogió la experiencia de los geoparques con un foco especial en nuestra región, en la región de África, en la región de Arabia. Vaya si eso nosotros lo valoramos mucho, porque es en un diálogo constante con actores, con gestores y con expertos. Esa caja de herramientas, como lo dice la palabra, son herramientas que no todos, están todas para usar, pero no es que todas las vamos a usar, dependiendo de la realidad de cada geoparque. Acabo de venir de la visita de un geoparque aspirante a mundial de la UNESCO, que es Tungurahua en Ecuador. Y allí, en su región, tienen un desarrollo turístico, pero muy importante, en un lugar donde reciben muchísimas visitas y que sin duda esta caja de herramientas le va a servir ¿a quién? A los operadores, pero también a la autoridad local, para poder, en definitiva, generar ordenamiento territorial, ordenanzas que permitan seguir desarrollando un turismo sustentable, que es lo que queremos. Y los geoparques somos, sin temor a decirlo, los mejores aliados para los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible que se han firmado y suscrito por todos los países miembros de las Naciones Unidas. Y en ese sentido, todo está relacionado. Turismo no es solo ocio. Turismo es experiencia como bien lo manifestaron ustedes anteriormente y lo dijeron. La conexión con un plato típico, la conexión con un ritual vinculado a un pueblo originario en determinado lugar. Todo eso son experiencias que tenemos para brindar a los visitantes, a los turistas, pero también para la comunidad interna, para entender el valor que tenemos. Porque los geoparques no se crean, los geoparques se descubren, y en ese sentido el geoturismo es un elemento dinamizador de los artesanos que ya existieron, de los productores de mermeladas que siempre existieron, y que lo es ponderar y valorar, en definitiva, su accionar. Esto de poder tener hoy la posibilidad de inaugurar una página web, que prontamente estará todo el material ahí, no es nada más y nada menos que democratizar todos los elementos y la información que esta caja de herramientas tiene y los procesos que UNESCO, en alianza con otros actores, está desarrollando. ¿Y por qué sirve esto? Porque tenemos la información al alcance de la mano y porque lo que busca es que cada vez seamos más profesionales no con un título universitario, profesionales en la eficiencia, en el respeto al ambiente y en el no frenar los procesos de desarrollo. Hoy el mundo sin duda está herido. Esto personalmente es una apreciación personal, que está herido y la naturaleza se manifiesta. Y eso tenemos que interpretarlo, entenderlo y actuar en consecuencia. Pero también de los objetivos del desarrollo sostenible, el número 16 está con una fragilidad enorme. Hemos retrocedido. Y los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible no es responsabilidad única de los gobiernos, es responsabilidad de todos, porque los estados lo integra toda la comunidad. Y así como los geoparques no son ni de un estado, ni de un gobierno, ni de una empresa, ni de una organización, sino que es de todos los que conviven en esa comunidad, debemos de buscar los elementos para empoderar y seguir trabajando por la paz mundial, y los geoparques son excelentes plataformas para ese desarrollo, para esa pacificación y búsqueda de la plenitud del ser humano en combinación con el cuidado del ambiente. Vaya si este trabajo que hoy estamos dando el cierre, pero que es el comienzo, un cierre de un proceso, pero que es la apuesta para que todos los geoparques lo puedan utilizar, y para este proyecto que es el programa de geoparques y geociencias en la UNESCO, que está en pleno crecimiento. Y cuando nosotros crecemos, ¿qué pasa? Nos descubrimos, nos adaptamos, no está todo escrito en piedra, y estas cosas son las que nos permiten ver cómo uno va evolucionando con la mente abierta y permitir las mejores prácticas a medida que pasa el tiempo, de la mano de quién, de un aliado sin duda al que todos somos parte, que es la red global de geoparques, la UGGps, que dentro de sus actores ha tenido una experiencia riquísima y que ha aportado a todo esto. Desde aquí, desde el Geoparque Grutas del Palacio, el saludo especial a todos, las felicitaciones, el agradecimiento por el compromiso, y bueno, y no puedo dejar de hacer alusión a lo que Dries hace un momento decía, y que Serena también lo reafirmaba. Por primera vez, la Conferencia Mundial de los Geoparques va a tener sede en nuestra región, una región tan rica, como les dije, en América Latina y el Caribe, puntualmente en el Geoparque Mundial Cutralcura, el geoparque más austral en este momento y el más grande en territorio del mundo. Bienvenidos desde ya a esta región de América Latina, bienvenidos a los geoparques de resiliencia, y que sin duda vamos a tener la posibilidad de que en el proceso de estos 2 años seguir trabajando, construyendo para que la estancia de todos ustedes aquí sea tan magnífica como la que nos recibió Marrakech y que estuvo a la altura de los detalles, a pesar de las horas difíciles que pasamos, pero ahí es donde se demuestra de que somos comunidad, somos resilientes, somos humanos. Muchas gracias y dejo por acá.
Gracias, Eugenio. Como siempre, con unas palabras muy inspiradoras y que nos tocan el corazón. So again, we will hear from Mr. Driss Akbal, who is the president, as we've heard, of Magoun UNESCO Global Geopark Association in Morocco. He was also the president of the organizing committee of the last UNESCO Global Geopark Congress, World Congress. He is a member of the Executive Council of Global Geoparks Network, is Secretary General of the Moroccan Association of Solidarity and Development, AMSED, and a number of other associations on environment and development, sustainable development, and UNESCO clubs in Morocco. But we've invited him today to speak in the closing session because he's also president of the African UNESCO Global Geoparks Network. So Driss, again, the floor is yours. Please, you're welcome to speak in French. Thank you very much, Driss.
Donc, merci tout le monde. Je suis ravi de prendre la parole une deuxième fois. Je me présente, je suis Idriss Ashbel. Je suis le président de l'association Geoparques du Mgoun du Maroc. Et j'étais président du réseau africain des géoparcs de l'UNESCO. Aujourd'hui, la présidence a passé à nos amis de Ngorongoro Lingai en Tanzanie. Et je suis aussi membre du bureau exécutif de Global Geopark Network. Très ravi d'être avec vous à la clôture de cet bel événement. En fait, le réseau mondial des géoparcs, comme vous le savez, c'est 195 géoparcs dans 48 pays. Lors de la 10e conférence internationale de Marrakech, le Conseil mondial des géoparcs a validé 16 nouveaux autres géoparcs, avec la revalidation de 43 géoparcs. C'est très intéressant. La famille Global Geopark Network continue à grandir. Chaque année, on a de nouveaux géoparcs, on a des aspéries géoparcs. Malheureusement, en Afrique, malgré les potentialités qu'on a au niveau de l'Afrique et du monde arabe, depuis 2014, on était le seul géoparc du monde arabe et de l'Afrique qui a été labellisé par l'UNESCO. Et il fallait attendre 4 ans jusqu'à 2018 qu'on a eu le Ngorongoro Lingai en Tanzanie pour créer le réseau africain des géoparcs de l'UNESCO. Comme vous le savez, l'Afrique, c'est très, très, très vaste, c'est très riche comme patrimoine géologique, comme richesse faunistique et floristique, comme safari, comme des territoires de populations locales autochtones avec des connaissances, un savoir-faire et des richesses ancestrales. Mais malheureusement, le concept du géoparc n'a pas encore pris. C'est pourquoi avec l'UNESCO, avec le Global Geopark, on a initié le Grant for Africa, c'est la bourse pour les projets de géoparc en Afrique. La première édition en 2021, on a eu pratiquement 26 projets qui ont présenté leur candidature pour bénéficier de cette bourse. Et on a choisi 4 projets. Je cite le Dahar dans le sud de la Tunisie, Madagascar, le royaume d'Eswatini et Baringo à Kenya. Puis on a lancé une 2e édition de Grant for Africa, un projet qui a reçu pas mal de projets, dont 6 projets au Maroc. Aujourd'hui, comme vous le savez, le Maroc a mis en place sa commission nationale des géoparcs, du géoparc et qui continue à accompagner les projets au Maroc. Donc, les 6 projets qu'on espère l'année prochaine, ils vont présenter leur candidature pour être labellisés et intégrer le réseau international des géoparcs de l'UNESCO. Le Maroc, comme vous le savez, c'est très riche du nord au sud de l'Atlas vers le Rif, avec des potentialités touristiques extraordinaires, des richesses patrimoniales, impériales, culturelles, partant de la gastronomie, de la musique, du vestimentaire, des richesses géologiques qui font du Maroc un paradis des géologues et une destination touristique très, très intéressante. Je crois que pas mal de vous ont eu l'occasion de découvrir la ville de Marrakech avec ses richesses vraiment très intéressantes. Donc, notre devoir en tant que réseau africain et en tant que premier géoparc du monde arabe, c'est de continuer à accompagner les projets de géoparcs, les aspirines géoparcs au niveau de l'Afrique et du monde arabe, partager cette expérience de notre géoparc qui est pratiquement de 20 ans. On a commencé le travail à Mgoun depuis 2004, depuis que le concept a été lancé, depuis la création du GGN, du Réseau international des Global Geopark Network. On a un savoir-faire, une expérience vraiment extraordinaire, avec des retombées économiques très intéressantes sur la population locale, avec le développement du tourisme, avec le développement des sports de montagne. Je parle du canyoning, du rafting, du hiking, du escalade, du VTT, de la randonnée, des marathons et autres activités, de la pêche, la chasse et autres activités sportives qui fait de ce territoire vraiment un bijou et un exemple qui peut être partagé. Avec l'Amérique latine, je sais que c'est très intéressant ce qui a été déjà développé au niveau du Chili, de l'Équateur, de l'Uruguay, du Brésil, de l'Argentine, du Mexique. Et on est ouvert à continuer à travailler avec Anginio et les autres amis de l'Amérique latine pour développer un réseau, comme vous le savez, sur le plan géologique, le continent de l'Amérique latine, l'Amérique du Nord, avec l'Afrique, à un certain moment, c'était collé avec la séparation des continents et l'ouverture des océans. On a la même géologie, on a beaucoup de richesses, beaucoup de richesses géologiques partagées avec les traces des dinosaures, avec les gravures rupestres, avec beaucoup de richesses patrimoniales qui se ressemblent et sur lesquels on peut s'appuyer pour continuer à travailler ensemble, pour développer le continent africain, développer le continent latino-américain et les îles caribéennes, pour plus de partage, plus d'échanges d'expériences. On a eu l'occasion de signer des conventions de partenariat lors de la conférence internationale avec nos amis de l'Amérique latine et avec le Canada. C'est une occasion aussi pour continuer à travailler, continuer à développer nos exercices réussis dans le bien entendu de nos populations locales et dans le bien du continent africain surtout et du monde arabe qui nécessite plus d'efforts, plus de partage pour convaincre les gouvernements locaux, convaincre les responsables et les gestionnaires au niveau territorial pour comprendre au maximum le concept de développement territorial basé sur le concept des géoparcs de l'UNESCO pour développer leur territoire et permettre aux populations locales de tirer bénéfice en se basant sur les richesses naturelles, culturelles dont elles disposent. Je crois que l'événement d'aujourd'hui, c'est un succès. C'est une autre expérience qui va s'ajouter au travail déjà qui a été développé, comme je viens de le dire, au niveau de l'Expo Dubaï, en Irak, avec Elsa, au Caire, et en Arabie Saoudite, à Baringo, au Kenya, et à Namibia, peut-être dans d'autres horizons. On est ouvert pour accueillir les projets, les aspirines géoparcs en Afrique et dans le monde arabe, dans notre géoparc. Là, je m'adresse à Christophe et à Elsa. Pourquoi ne pas se baser sur un modèle concret, un exemple déjà réussi, qui a déjà cumulé de l'expérience, pour ramener les aspirines géoparcs, pour découvrir un modèle. Ça va leur donner beaucoup d'énergie, beaucoup de volonté pour faciliter un petit peu les structures de management, comment développer la géoéducation avec les universités, avec les écoles primaires et secondaires, avec les autres départements qui travaillent sur la recherche scientifique, comment développer les sports de montagne avec les clubs, les activités sportives déjà développées, Comment travailler sur la visibilité d'un géoparc avec la mise en place des panneaux de signalisation, des panneaux scientifiques, et aussi comment préserver et promouvoir les géosites, comment développer la communication en interne, en externe, et faire connaître un territoire auprès des populations et auprès du tourisme, et bien entendu, comment développer un tourisme solidaire, un tourisme équitable, un tourisme basé sur le commerce équitable et sur l'intégrité des territoires et la valorisation des richesses des populations et le savoir-faire des populations locales. Je crois qu'on est sur la bonne voie. On va continuer à travailler ensemble pour le bien de nos continents, de nos territoires. Et toujours le Geoparc d'Ongoun reste ouvert pour le partage de son expérience. Et merci pour votre écoute. Thank you so much.
Merci beaucoup, Driss. And thank you as well for letting us know that the presidency of the African Geoparks Network has passed over to Ngorongoro. That's good news. Interesting news. I think Driss pointed out a couple of really important points, that the sort of learning curve for geopark projects, particularly in certain regions of the world, like Africa, like Latin America and the Caribbean, is quite steep for new projects, new territories, new countries as well. And this was one of the main aims of the Geoesquemas project, was to build that capacity, to identify exactly where the blockages were and to build that capacity. So the project focused on areas like building institutional capacity for governance at the territorial and national level. And we saw from Elsa's presentation that it's really come a long way in terms of developing national geoparks committees in 13 countries in the Arab states, and also in Latin America and in the Caribbean. We've worked hard with countries to develop national geoparks committees to identify key technical areas like geotourism, geoconservation, and geosciences, and also to transfer the knowledge from geoparks where it's necessary to countries and geoparks where it's not so necessary. So this has been such an important project to helping us build that capacity and put new countries and new territories on the road to developing projects, aspirant geoparks, and new UNESCO global geoparks. We're on the road. We're hoping that we're going to see a real explosion of new geoparks in the next few years. And so that brings me to our last speaker, who's certainly not the least important, Santiago Sierra, who is the Chief of Department of Coordination and Cultural and Scientific Relations from the Spanish Agency of International Cooperation for Development, Mr. Santiago Sierra. He has a degree in law, and he entered his diplomatic career in 2005. He's been in the diplomatic representative from Spain in Venezuela, Mexico, and Nicaragua. Santiago, welcome. Thank you very much for closing out this event, and we very much look forward to hearing your final words. You are, of course, welcome to speak in Spanish.
Muchísimas gracias, and thank you very much. Well, I'll be very brief. Well, firstly, because we are running out of time, and secondly, because I've got a cold. I'm feeling a bit sick, so I beg your pardon, and I will be very, very brief in my remarks. Well, in the first place, I would like to say thank you to all the participants in this workshop, and to all those who have taken part in the Geoesquemas project over the last few years. As you know, the Spanish Corporation is deeply committed with the program of UNESCO Global Geoparks in Spain and worldwide. Our funding trust has given support to this project since its very beginning, which has had an important impact in local stakeholders by means of strengthening their capacities, implementing good practices, and fostering better management tools. We hope we will be able to continue our efforts in the field, since UNESCO Global Geoparks program encompasses some of the main topics the Spanish cooperation is strongly aligned with: resilience, sustainable development of local communities, implementation of sound framework, of a sound framework for a sustainable tourism, green economy, and inclusion/co-creation. We expect this project will also inspire new workshops and that will let us gather again with an important group of experts, bringing together people from all the different countries taking part in this endeavor, experts from UNESCO, from Spain, from Latin America, and of course, working closely with local actors. Y si puedo terminar mi pequeña y dificultosa intervención en español, quiero dar las gracias muy sinceramente a todos los participantes. Sé que todos han intervenido de una manera muy entusiasta. Nosotros en España estamos muy comprometidos con este programa. Dentro de España tenemos 15 geoparques con un gran número de candidaturas cada año, como bien lo sabe sobre todo Juana Vegas del Instituto Geológico y Minero de España. Estamos trabajando en el seno de nuestra Comisión Nacional por constituir un nuevo marco jurídico más sólido para nuestro Comité Nacional de Geoparques y trabajando para que haya una sensibilidad cada vez mayor en la sociedad española hacia lo que significan los geoparques mundiales de la UNESCO, a los valores de interés y de importancia universal que defienden y también a conseguir que haya una protección global e integral de estos valores a nivel mundial. Por tanto, pueden estar seguros de que continuaremos apoyando todas las iniciativas junto con Christoph, junto con todo su equipo, para que el programa de Geoparques pueda alcanzar las máximas cotas de excelencia en todos los países donde ya está presente y en otros nuevos países y regiones donde finalmente empiece su nueva andadura. Muchísimas gracias a todos.
Muchísimas gracias, Santiago. And again, I definitely want to acknowledge the great alignment with ICEED and the really important role that this project has played to catalyzing so much activity and capacity building for the two geoparks networks in particular. And it's created a momentum which is going to continue rolling, certainly. So yes, indeed, you will continue to hear from us, and we will continue to develop activities together with your important will and interest. Thank you very much. And so with those very important words from Santiago, I hereby close this event and officially close the project. Although somebody's asking about the Geotourism Toolkit, that will be available on our website in the different language versions. We'll probably have that up in about a month's time, the final version. Okay, thank you very much, colleagues. And we will be sharing the results of this, the recording of this webinar as well. And also, hopefully, we'll get Dr. Nouri's presentation up there recorded as well, so we can hear from Libya too.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you to everyone for
you.
their participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Merci
Gracias.
beaucoup.